Everyone, Delta 1 here. I just noticed that all of my videos were paused. I don't know what that was about. They weren't really about anything, just like this one isn't really. The reason I haven't had that many videos out recently is because I've been helping people behind the scenes. Some YouTubers that I've had, some people that are around me, and none of my vehicles that I got from Copart have failed. I'm driving the Ram right now. My brother's driving the Murano, and my coworker is driving the Impala until he can get his car fixed, or get it replaced or something like that, whatever he decides to do. But what I've been up to really is helping people with their stuff. I had a YouTuber that lives nearby here. I say nearby here, I guess down here in the south, nearby here is anything within like 120, 130 miles. But I have had a YouTuber that came from New Orleans or around New Orleans area. I think it was Kenner, Louisiana. And he had an issue. His car was misfiring. And he has a Murano, just like the same engine, everything that's in the one that my brother's driving. He took it to the dealership. Why, I don't know, but he took it to the dealership, and the dealership told him that he needs another engine. The engine has about the same miles on it as the Murano that I have. I think his had like 191,000 miles on it. Mine has like 197,000 miles on it, so his has like 6,000 miles less. They told him that needs a new engine because it was, it was misfiring. It was throwing VVT codes. So, he wanted a second opinion, and I had this issue with my Murano before my brother started driving it. Well, after my brother started driving it. And I asked him, was this a gradual miss or did it just start happening? And he said, well, he was driving down the road, and what ended up happening is it just up and just started misfiring really badly. I asked, okay, does it smoke? He says, no, it doesn't smoke or anything like that. I said, okay. I said, I'd be glad to look at it because he did some replacement parts on it that the dealer recommended, and he was still having the issue, still had BBT issues, still had codes, but for the dealership to even hook up to it was $125 to even hook up to it. So I told him if it was nearby, I'd hook up to it, and he was more than willing to drive the Murano up here. And I hooked the Murano up to my scan tool, my Autel 908 BT, and it did have a VVT code in it, which was interesting because the VVT code was on the misfire code was on cylinder 2. If anyone that doesn't know how Nissan marks the engines on the Murano, the number 2 is the side near the firewall. The VVT was the code it had was on the radiator side. 2 completely different banks, but he did not have a misfire for the bank on the left bank. So I popped the hood and I start pulling the cover off of it and everything. As soon as I pull the cover off of it, I noticed the VVT plug is unplugged. Now this thing misfired like cats and dogs fighting. I plugged the VVT solenoid back in, reset the computer, because the only 2 codes that were in it was 3 codes. They had the VVT, the number 2 cylinder misfire, and the Cadillac converter, not Cadillac converter, Cadillac converter code, which I figured it would be a Cadillac converter code because if it's misfiring like he says it is, and I saw that the exhaust VVT was unplugged, I figured it would throw that Cadillac converter code. That doesn't necessarily mean that there's nothing wrong with the Cadillac converter or there's something else wrong. It's just that is a code that would be generated by that cause being that, because it's not running right, it's not reading the right mixture, it doesn't think the cat's working. Plug the VVT code in, reset it. The catalytic converter code did come back, so I do believe there is something wrong with the catalytic converter. But the catalytic converter came back, and the number 2 cylinder misfire came back. However, rather than running like cats and dogs fighting out in the rain, it would run, smooth out, start misfiring again, smooth out, misfire again. I said, okay, your engine's not that. So I did a power band test, or I don't think it's called a power band test in the Autel. But I think it's equivalent to basically shutting off the injectors and shutting off the spark plugs. However, on the Murano, the way, because it's a transverse mount engine, it's a intake over cover design, which basically means the intake covers one side of the valve cover, and just so happens the valve cover I need to get the spark plug is number 2, and it's over on top. So having this feature on the Autel, where I can kill the spark and the fuel independently, I could tell every cylinder was contributing. Even, here's the thing, even the plug that was actually misfiring contributed to when you turn it off. It was a slight change, but it was a change. And most of the other plugs also, for what they, for the miles of the engine, it was still performing the way it should. It was still a healthy engine, sort of, for 200,000, almost 200,000 miles. Well, I go and I tell them, you know what, get new spark plugs, replace them, you're going to run fine. Of course, without being able to replace the spark, get to all the spark plugs and replace all the coils, I can't guarantee it. I said, if you want me to do it, we can pull the intake, we can pull all the spark plugs, replace all 6 spark plugs, put all 3 coils on the front and the back, and put all 3 coils in the back and the front. We got every spark plug out. 4 of the 6 spark plugs I could turn out by hand, which would explain the condition of the outside of the plugs. Also, the plugs look great except the number 2 plug, which had oil on it. That plug also was one you could turn out by hand. I replaced all of those. The coil that was on number 2 did have a score mark on it. However, they're 2-piece spark plugs. They're a boot, and then you have the coil. Well, a 2-piece coil, you have a coil, and then you have the boot. There was no arcing up the boot, just arcing on the corner, which I figured was contributed by the fact that the spark plug was loose. So, which would also explain why the engine, again, performed good enough for a 200,000 mile engine, but didn't perform healthy. So after getting all the spark plugs back in the way they're supposed to be, tightened down the way they're supposed to be, putting all the coils in the front and the back to the front, putting the intake manifold back on, fired up like a champ. I mean, he told me it ran a whole lot better than what it was before. I checked the, I did another power band test on it. Not only was number 2 contributing so much better than what it was, every cylinder, when you shut it off, made the car shake. So all 6 cylinders were contributing immensely. The compression on each cylinder was like 145 averaged. So that was almost a month ago that I did that, and he still had no issues out of it. I do feel bad that he spent like $300 in parts before he came to me, and then spent diagnostics at a dealership, which was another $125. So, and because it was running like that and without that plug-in for the VVT, the catalytic converter might be screwed on it too, but what can you do? he's back on the road. He's back driving. He's happy. If you wanna know, I didn't charge him anything to do any of that. Because I mean, it's such a simple stuff like that. I don't charge anybody for anything like that. I mean, if it was a engine where I had to remove like the intake manifold, the freaking valve cover, and the throttle body and radiator hoses just to get to the spark plugs, then yeah, I might have charged some. But it was a simple 4 bolts, take the cruise control module off, pull it up, do the coils. Start to finish, the job was maybe 15 minutes. So he spent more time going to go and getting the spark plugs than it did to me to replace them. So that's what I've been up to. I've been just helping people. I would have recorded that one, but he didn't seem like he'd like to be on camera. Let me show you guys. None of my vehicles are here that came from Copart, other than the Ram, obviously. But none of the other vehicles are here. I did replace the throttle cables on that. I figured that wouldn't be interesting. I put a new battery in that because I just haven't been driving. Believe it or not, I have not driven that, but like maybe to the store, since I got this truck running. And I got this truck running last year of March. Yeah, last year of March. So that thing has practically been sitting in, well, I've been moving it around backwards and forwards, but other than that, I haven't been doing anything. But that Pathfinder's basically been sitting there for a year. I replaced the battery like 6 months ago or something like that. And yes, it still fires right up. I mean, let's get out and let's find my key. Find me key. Get in, find me key. I mean, it's obviously, but I mean, this thing has been really literally sitting here. I mean, it really does fire right up. Obviously gonna have a tire pressure light. It's only got 95,349 miles on it. It needs an oil change because the oil change hasn't been changed since 1908. That's interesting. 4, 5. Why is I'm getting calls from Dean McCary Kia about my thing needing service? It says next mileage is 100,335 miles. Okay, never mind. The date was 2/6/19. I'm a month, 2 months behind, but it's only got 195,000 miles on it. So I'm like 5,000 miles behind. So that just gives you an idea. I had the oil changed last year. That was when I put the battery in. So 3 months from that, which been January. No, I didn't put a battery in it. No, I did not. I can't remember when I put it in there, but that's how many miles it was supposed to have when I get it changed again. That was the date. And that's how many miles are on it right now. Yeah. We already know why that light's on. Tire pressure. The brake light's on is because I have that on. Oh crap. I have that on. Obviously seatbelt light. Again, no check engine lights. She's fine. She's running. I know the lights are on. But give me my key. But it is a 2011. Is it on this one? It is a 2011. I don't know where it is on this. It usually is on, oh, it is on the door. It is a 2011, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. It's a 2011. If you can see my hand. Where's my hand? It is a 2011. I don't know if you can see it. It's 211. This truck is literally a 2010 Nissan Pathfinder with a 2011 markings on it. So literally the powertrain is the exact same as 2010, but in 2011 they changed everything. So I have a programmer for this, but it will not work because it's 1 year too late. Oh well. But that's what I've been up to. This is all that's left of my vehicles I work on. My mom's Impala is at my aunt's. My Impala is being used by my coworker. My Murano is being used by my brother. I'm driving the Ram. The motorcycle's here. I don't have the key that starts it. It's in the truck, I guess. I don't know. I don't even know if anyone wants to hear it start up. I know my neighbors don't want to hear it start up. I know it maybe. This was also a Copart. I haven't changed this battery or charged this battery on this bike almost as long as I've charged that. So I've got to get the cables set right. It's not, other than it being cold outside, it's not set. It's not pulling on the cable like it should be. So every time I pull it, it dies out. It's been raining, so I haven't been going. But other than that, Ram's good, bike's good, Pathfinder's good. Both Impalas, Murano's good. So all my vehicles have not been going down. That's why I haven't been really making videos. I was making videos of just topics that I was getting emailed. I got to catch back up on that. I have bent my glasses. I have a bunch of content for people that have asked me questions that I need a video. And most of being is because I not only did I answer those independently, I actually was going one-on-one with a few people. Most of which I was able to help, some of which I wasn't able to. I actually had to bring up a conversation with someone already about one of them. But that's what I've been up to since my trip from Korea. I mean, I've only been home for like a month. No, I haven't. I haven't been home even a month yet. Well, yes, I have. Yeah, today's March 1st. I mean, today's April 1st. So no, I haven't. No, I left. Okay, April 15th will be a month, or April 11th. April the 11th will be a month I've been back. I haven't been back a month yet, so I haven't been up on content since I've been back from Korea because I haven't been back a month, and I've been paying catch up. But that's all that's left.